Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous unidentified serial killers in American history. Active during the late 1960s and early 19th century, the killer operated in Northern California and is known for a series of gruesome murders and taunting letters sent to newspapers and law enforcement agencies. The moniker Zodiac was derived from cryptic ciphers and symbols used by the killer in his letters, which added to the mystery and intrigue surrounding the case. The Zodiac Killer's confirmed victims include at least 5 people, for he claimed to have killed as many as 37 individuals. The killer modus operandi involved targeting young couples in remote areas, shooting them with a .22 caliber weapon. The case remains unsolved and the killer's identity has never been conclusively determined despite numerous investigations and extensive media attention. The taunting letters and ciphers sent by the Zodiac Killer have fascinated amateurs, sleuths, cryptographers, and true crime enthusiasts. For decades, his ability to elude capture and his cryptic communication style have contributed to the enduring mystery of the case. Discovery of the Zodiac Killer's crimes and his identity as a serial killer unfolded as follows. The Zodiac Killer's crime spree began on December 20, 1968 with the murder of high school student Betty Lou Jensen and David Friday in Vallejo, California. This was the killer's first known attack. After the initial murders, the Zodiac Killer sent a series of letters to local newspapers and law enforcement agencies. In these letters, he claimed responsibility for the murders and included cryptic ciphers and codes. He also demanded that his letters be published. On July 4, 1969, the Zodiac Killer targeted another young couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael 𝐓𝐢𝐭𝐥𝐞, in a remote lovers' lane near Vallejo. The couple was shot in their car. Ferrin died, but 𝐓𝐓𝐿𝐢𝐭𝐥𝐞 survived. After the attack, the killed approached their car, confirmed the victims' identities, and made a phone call to police from a nearby payphone to report the crime. On July 31, 1969, the Zodiac Killer struck again, this at the time Lake Berryessa. He approached Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepherd, who were relaxing by the lake. The killer tied them up and then stabbed repeatedly. Before leaving the scene, he drew a symbol on Hartnell's car door, which became known as the Zodiac symbol. In the wake of the Lake Berryessa attack, the Zodiac Killer sent letters to local newspapers that contained detailed ciphers. One of these ciphers, as the 340 ciphers, remained unsolved for decades until it was cracked by a team of codebreakers in December 2020. Media attention and fair publishing of the killer's letters and ciphers led to heightened media attention and widespread fear. The Zodiac Killer's brazen acts and his taunting letters created a scene of unseen the San Francisco Bay Area. The Zodiac Killer is also linked to the murder of taxi driver Paul Stein in San Francisco. On September 27, 1969, he allegedly took a piece of Stein's shirt as a trophy, left the scene. The investigation into the Zodiac Killer case was marked by extensive efforts by law enforcement agencies, cryptographers, and amateur sleuths. Here are key aspects of the investigations. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved in investigation. The Zodiac Killer's crime include the Vallejo Police Department, the San Francisco Police Department, and the Napa County Sheriff's Office. The investigation was complicated by the fact that the killer's crime spanned different juries. Investigators conducted forensic analysis at the crime scene, including collecting physical evidence such as bullets, clothing, and other materials. They also analyzed the victim's wound and any potential links between the different crime scenes. The Zodiac Killer's letters to newspaper and law enforcement agencies were an integral part of the investigations. Investigators analyzed the content of the letters, looking for clues or information that could lead to the killer's identity. The cryptic ciphers and codes present a particular challenge. One of the most scientific developments in the investigation occurred in December 2020 when a team of codebreakers successfully deciphered the 340 ciphers. These ciphers sent by the Zodiac killers had remained unsolved for decades. The decoded message did not reveal the killer's identity but added to the historical record. Victims who survived encounters with the Zodiac killer provided descriptions and composites sketches of the suspect. The sketches were widely circulated in an attempt to identify the killer. Over the years, various suspects and persons of interest emerged, including individuals who were reported to have suspicious behavior or potential connections on the case. The leads were paused and investigated by law enforcement. Law enforcement agencies often cooperated and shared information about the case. This collaboration was crucial in pooling resources and expertise. Despite the extensive efforts, the Zodiac Killer case eventually became a cold case. Many suspects were ruled out and the killer's true identity remained elusive. The Zodiac Killer case maintained public interest over the years, with amateurs, true crime enthusiasts, and cryptic ciphers continuing to explore the case, share theories, and attempt to decipher the ciphers. To this day, the Zodiac killer's identity remains unknown and the case remains of the most famous unsolved mysteries in the history of American true crime. Suspects and persons of interest. The Zodiac killer case has seen numerous suspects and persons of interest over the years. While none of these individuals have been definitively linked to the crimes, they have been subject of investigations and speculation. Here is a list of some notable suspects and persons of interest in the Zodiac killer case. Perhaps the most infamous suspect, Allen, was a convicted child molester who died in 1992. He came to the attention of law enforcement due to his criminal history and resemblance to a composite sketch. However, he was never charged and remained skeptical of his involvement. Can a convicted rapist was considered a suspect due to his resemblance to a composite sketch and potential connection one of the ciphers. However, he was cleared of involvement. 𝐓𝐢𝐭𝐥𝐞 was journalist and potential suspect, and based on linguistic analysis of the Zodiac letters, he died in 2004 and no conclusive evidence linked him to the crime. Penn, an author and Zodiac researcher, proposed a theory that a man named Bruce Davis was the Zodiac killer. This theory remains speculative and unproven. A convicted murderer who claimed to the Zodiac killer, his confession was met with skepticism and he was not linked to the crime through evidence. Sullivan was a former mental patient and library worker whose handwriting and physical appearance were considered by some to be similar to Zodiac communication. However, there is no definitive evidence connecting him to the crimes. Cheney was a friend of Arthur Leigh Allen and was suspected of having knowledge about the case. He cooperated with the investigators but was not charged. Some have speculated that 𝐓𝐢𝐭𝐥𝐞 might have been Zodiac killer due to similarities in their writings, style and timelines. This theory lacks concrete evidence. In recent years, investigators have focused on obtaining and analyzing DNA evidence from the Zodiac killer crime scene. While this has not led to a positive identification, it remains an avenue of ongoing investigation. It's important to note the true identity of Zodiac killer remains a mystery and none of the above individuals have been definitively linked to the crimes. The case continues to be a subject of fascination and speculations, with amateurs, sleuths and law enforcement agencies pursuing leads and theories in an effort to solve one of the most enduring mysteries in the history of American true crime. There was no definitive breakthrough in the Zodiac killer case that led to the identification and capture to the killer. However, there have been notable developments and movements of program in the investigations. One scientific breakthrough occurred in December 2020 when a team of codebreakers successfully deciphered the 340 ciphers, one of the cryptic codes sent by the Zodiac Killer. The decodes message while not revealing the killer's identity added new information to the historical records. This development generated renewed interest in the case. Evidence advance in DNA technology has allowed investigators to examine evidence from the Zodiac Killer's crime scene. This has included the testing of physical evidence such as clothing and letters for DNA profiles. While no definitive match to a suspect was announced at the time of my knowledge, DNA analysis remains an active area of investigations. The case continues to be scientific public interest with the amateurs, true crime enthusiasts and dedicated researchers actively engaged in the pursuit of new leads and theories. Online communities and forums facilities discussions and information sharing related to the case. Despite these developments, the Zodiac Killer's true identity remains a mystery and the case remains unsolved. There have been no confirmed breakthrough leading to the identification and capture of the killers. It's important to note that any potential updates or developments in this case that have occurred after January 2020 may not be included in this response. There was never a trial of the Zodiac killers as the killer's identity remains unknown and he was never apprehended of through the court. The Zodiac killer's crime and the accompanying cryptic letters and ciphers sent to the media and law enforcement agencies did not result in a trial because the killer was never captured. Unsolved legacy. In conclusion, the Zodiac Killer case remains one of the most perplexing and enduring mysteries in the realm of the true crime. This identified serial killer, known for a series of brutal murders, cryptic letters, and unsolved ciphers, has captured the imagination of the public for decades. Despite extensive investigation, suspect, and even some tantalizing breakthrough, the killer's identity remains unknown and justice has not been served. For the victims and their families, the Zodiac Killer case serves as reminder of the complexity of unsolved mysteries and the tensities of these who continued to seek answer. It enters as a chilling enigma, one of the most iconic and unsettling chapters in history of American true crime. Here are some sources and references related to the Zodiac Killer case that you may find informative. The Zodiac Killer on Wikipedia. This comprehensive Wikipedia page provides an overview of the case, including details about the killer, crimes, letters, and ciphers and suspects. The Zodiac Killer, a timeline of biography. This timeline offers a chronological account of key events and crimes associated with the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer, a devious enigma of FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations page on the Zodiac Killer case provides a summary of the case and the FBI involvement sources here. The Zodiac Killer, a closer look on Crime Museum. These resources provide a detailed examination of this case, including the killer's letters and ciphers. Crime Museum, the Zodiac Killer, a closer looks. Here are some resources of this link. Please note the resources offer a variety of perspective and informative related to the Zodiac Killer case, but the case remains officially unsolved. Additionally, for the most current developments and information on the case, you may want to explore recent news articles and true crime documentaries. Closing statement. The Zodiac Killer case stands a reminder that even in the face of the most baffling mysteries and pursuit of truth and justice continues. While the case remains officially unsolved, it remains the focus of ongoing investigations and public interest, and the hope for resolution introduced.